This is the plaintiff, David Paunovich. He says the defendant is his ex-wife, and they remained friendly. So he loaned her some money when things got tight. She told him she would pay him back, but she's only paid him a portion of what she borrowed. And he's here suing this woman for the $1,785.68 he's still owed. This is the defendant, Shelley Paunovich. She says she had an agreement to drive the plaintiff and his girlfriend to doctor's appointments and to go shopping, and she would work off her debt. The plaintiff's license was revoked and his girlfriend couldn't drive, so she worked off the debt she owed. She's accused of doing her ex wrong.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says he loaned money to his ex-wife. What a shock. She hasn't paid in full, and he wants the money. But the defendant says that she worked off her debt and simply owes the plaintiff nothing more. It's the case of vexing an ex.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, Yana.
Okay, Mr. Paunovich, you are suing your ex, Mrs. Paunovich, for $1,785.68 in loans that you say she has not repaid to you, plus interest, plus lost wages for having to come here. Talk to me. How long were you two married?
Approximately 5 years, Your Honor.
Okay, and you got a divorce how long ago?
It was right about February, if I'm not mistaken, of 2018.
Okay, but you stayed friendly.
I tried to. It didn't work out.
Okay, so what happened?
We ended up separating. She fell on some hard times. I lent her the money. She had an eviction notice. I had her sign that paperwork because I had a feeling she wouldn't pay me back. I asked her several times over the years to at least give me a portion of the money. She basically laughed it off, chuckled at it. I have several texts from her saying that that piece of paper doesn't mean blank. She's made no efforts to pay me back whatsoever. I've had to have the sheriff at my house several times because of her and her nephew.
What do you mean sheriff at your house?
It was because of mutual property that we had at the time that she tried to get back. I ended up just giving it to her. The sheriff advised me finally to just trespass her off the property. I did that. That did not work. It came down to her keying my truck several times. And finally, I was advised to just go get a restraining order against her.
And did you get one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you loan her $340, and what is it for?
Actually, the total amount was originally $400. $300 of it was for her rent. She had an eviction notice, and another $100 of it was for her heating and air conditioning repair. That $100 I do not have in writing.
Okay.
And of that $100, she paid me back $60.
Leaving now the $340. What's your response to this, Ms. Paunovich?
He did, or I should say they loaned me $340, and an additional $100 was loaned as well to capture my Freon from my air conditioning unit.
When you say they, who do you mean?
When I say they, I'm referring to the lady that was living with him at the time. It was not his money, it was hers.
Okay. So you were friendly with his new girlfriend?
I was.
Okay. And, okay, that's odd. So why was that the case, I guess I'm wondering?
Well, her and I became amicable. He met her online, and he convinced her to leave her family, her husband, and her daughter to come live with him. And at the time, it was explained that she had a medical condition. It just wasn't explained to what extent. And when she arrived, she was in her end stage of this condition.
Oh, goodness.
And she basically needed a friend.
Okay. And did she pass away?
She did.
All right. So when you say they loaned you, you started to say he loaned you the $300. Why did you change it to they?
Because it's a correction that needed to be stated. It was her money.
Who did you ask for the money?
I asked him, knowing that he was going to ask her because he was not employed.
Okay. So you assumed that he got it from her, or that he got it from, okay.
I know.
And then who handed you the money?
They did. I was at their house.
Okay. Who's they? They're not both holding on to the money. Do you remember, or you really don't remember?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I know I was at their home when it was given to me.
Okay. So how have you paid this back if you're saying you paid it back, or do you owe the money and do you just admit it?
It was agreed because at the time I was not employed, and the money that they gave, was to pay my lot rent for the home that I'm now still living in, so that I would not be evicted. That because I was not working, that I would drive them to and fro to the grocery store and doctors. We would go to his doctor's appointments, and
He doesn't drive?
No, he lost his license. It was in the interim of him getting his license back.
Why did he lose his license?
Because he's a habitual alcoholic. It was a DUI.
Okay. Did you lose your license, Mr. Aponovich?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
For a DUI?
No, ma'am. It was for reckless driving, and that was over probably 12 years ago.
Did you have priors for DUI?
I did have a DUI, Your Honor. That was all the way back in 1991.
Okay, so what made you lose your license for 12 years?
It was a reckless driving, and at the time, due to the fees and everything, I just didn't have the money
All
to
right,
pay
so
it back.
Ms. Panovich, did you pay any of this money back, yes or no?
Yes,
How did you pay it back?
cash
What'd you pay?
with $40 with no receipt.
40 or 60?
I'm sorry, 60.
Yeah, because
It
he's
was
giving you
left a
credit for
remainder
60.
of-
All right.
Right,
And
it was
then,
the remainder of,
and then the
I'm
rest
sorry.
of it, according to you, you paid back how?
and driving them to and fro to restaurants and grocery stores and doctor's appointments for the duration of her time there.
Okay, says who? Like who said you could pay back that way?
Dana did.
For how long? How many trips? Like how was this figured out?
It was during the duration of the time when she was visiting him, living with him, and at one point, there was no set time. At one point in time, I had taken him on their last trip, and it was at that point that he was inebriated, and he came across the table and threatened my life, and I said, I'm done. So at that point, I had asked the police to be called.
He threatened your life how?
He said he was going to kill me.
Why? What had happened
There
just
was an
before that? Not that
there
there's
was a
ever a good reason, but I'm trying to figure out what precipitated that.
There was an argument or discussion that had embroiled between the three of us. I don't remember exactly, but I do remember him physically coming over at the table, leaning into my portion of where I was sitting and telling me that he was going to kill me. And at that point, I said, I'm done. I looked at Dana and I said, I'm done. I got up from the table. I went to the manager and asked for the police to be called.
Mr. Panovich, did you want to respond to that allegation?
Oh, yes, I do, Your Honor. This incident very well did occur. However, it did not go down the way she stated. We did all go to the restaurant together that evening. However, it was the other way around when Miss Doe got upset. And to clarify, Your
Miss
Honor,
who
my
got
girlfriend
upset? Your girlfriend?
No, the defendant's correct last name is Doe, Your Honor.
Okay.
My girlfriend, to elaborate, had MS, so she was in a wheelchair. And what had ended up actually happening was Shelley was the one that came across, pushed her chair. The police were indeed called, and after several witnesses were interviewed, nothing happened. I ended up getting a ride home with my girlfriend in my truck from the restaurant manager.
And then how did Shelley get home?
The police took her home.
All right, so Ms. Panovich, do you have any proof of what you're saying that that it was agreed that you would be able to work it off by rides?
Unfortunately, no. It was never put in writing. It was just verbal. And unfortunately, Dana's no longer here to testify on my behalf.
No, that's true. But, 2 or 3 times during this trial, you have accidentally said, when he gave me the money, when he gave me the money, when he gave me the money. You've admitted that you asked him for the money, so he gets the money from her, but it's still him you are obligated to. So it wouldn't be good enough for your deceased girlfriend to have told you, oh, you know what, you can pay it off this way. But certainly it becomes even more difficult for you when you don't have proof of it. Now, Mr. Panovich, I don't know the math that you're using to arrive at the conclusions you're arriving at for interest, but these are not like math skills of this world. Don't be embarrassed because it happens a lot with litigants. but they don't understand that it's per annum, not per month. So you have to multiply it by a much smaller number. You have made a $340 debt into a $1,785 debt, which is incredibly usurious, and that's not how you do the math. So assuming that you are owed the entire $340, which I do, okay, the total amount with interest that you would be due to you right now, and you're still, because this happened in the 2017 and 2018, and you're still within the statute of limitations to sue for it, even though it's so old, but interest has accrued throughout that time, is a whopping $430, not $1,785. So I'm ruling in your favor in the amount of $430.
So in this lawsuit between a formerly married couple, the plaintiff is going to prevail to the tune of $430. He'd been suing for $1,785. His figures were way off. Anyway, let's talk to the defendant, Ms. Panovich. Shelley, what's your reaction to this decision?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to prove that the debt was paid in full. My ex-husband should not get this money. It was never his to begin with.
Yeah, but he gave it to you, so you owed the money, either way you look at it, right?
I owed the money, but not to him.
Well, you know, that's debatable. He says he gave you the money. Anyway, look, this is very interesting. Are you still communicating with him? You drive him around? What's your relationship at this point?
Negatory.
Negatory. We don't hear that word very often. Negatory. Okay. What does that mean? You have nothing to do with him at all, or what?
That is exactly that. He's not allowed to come to my home. In fact, he came to my home when his father passed away, and I was upset then.
All right. Well, look, you've got to give him the money, so like it or not, that's what the judge has ordered, so you got to do it, okay? Mr. Panovich, David, let me ask you, she argues whether the money should come from you or not, whatever, it doesn't matter. The judge says she owes you the money. You okay with this? Your figures were way off, by the way. How about that?
Well, okay, I never said I was a mathematician. I'm happy with the verdict. You know, it's time for her to grow up a little bit and pay her debts. She has a long history of not paying debts, including bankruptcy, so this comes as no surprise to me.
So this relationship is kaput. Would you say that's true?
Oh, that's a guarantee.
Okay, a guarantee. All right, well, you're going to get the money. Congratulations, you have prevailed in the lawsuit. All right, Harvey?
Doug, we've talked about this before. You need a record of payment. Always when you say you're working off a debt. Now, in this case, the payment essentially is barter, driving to doctor's appointments. Then you got to get something in writing, get a text that this counts as working off the debt. But if you can't prove that, you're going to be out of luck.
I paid a deposit on an apartment that was supposed to be ready March 1st, but it wasn't. I had to go and get a new place. The manager refuses to return the deposit. I was homeless for 2 weeks because the apartment wasn't ready. What can I do to get my money back, and can I get other damages as well?
Well, you can certainly get your money back because that manager has absolutely no business keeping your deposit if they breach the contract by not having the place ready on March 1st.
And I presume that's got to be a breach because that's when she agreed to move in.
So,
they don't have a place for her.
What you're going to need when you go to court to sue for that is proof that you were supposed to move in March 1st and not March 15th, whenever it was ready. So long as you have that proof, whether it's through a lease or some
hopefully in writing,
text, email, anything that you can record, that was recorded and documented, then you should be getting that money back. Now, consequential damages, it depends on what, people throw in the kitchen sink on consequential damages.
That's when you get outside the contract price, that the $2,000 or whatever the deposit was, and you start saying, well, I suffered all these other...
I had to go to a hotel because I
slept on a park bench.
I was...
That. You can't collect for that.
No, you can't collect for homeless either. So, I had to go to a hotel. I had to pay rent somewhere for 2 weeks. I didn't expect to be out that money. Et cetera. I was paying rent in 2 places. Whatever your consequential damages are, then that you should be able to get back. But
so you've granted those in these types of cases.
Yeah, it's pretty rare though.
Judges are reluctant to pile on the consequential damages.
No, because the people who ask for them usually ask for them it's ridiculous. You've turned a $2,000 case into a $10,000 case.
I had to go see a psychiatrist over this. And I want to start paying for stuff like that.
And what the law says is that There has to be causation between the what you're asking for and the bad.
Right.
So there's two parts to every lawsuit. They done me bad. And the second part to every lawsuit is by how much.
Right.
And so you have to be able to prove that this is reasonably related to what happened. And some things are that plaintiffs ask for and some things aren't.
Well, this does sound like a righteous claim. She should get the money back. And I imagine some states might even provide for double damages or treble damages between.
Sure, that's
the
another
landlord
thing, because every state has different rules on how to punish a landlord when a landlord keeps money that they're not
and
entitled
some are
to.
very tenant-friendly rules in that situation.
Yes, some of them will say that it can be double damages,
Right.
so yeah.
Right, you might be out $4 grand instead of $2 grand.
That's right.
You should pay up right away.